Good evening. Welcome to the March 25th meeting of the Executive Nominations Committee. Thank you all for coming this evening. It's very important to know, as I've said in every meeting, three important things in presenting your testimony. Be bold, be brilliant, but be brief. We have a lot of people to hear before session starts tonight at 8 o'clock. Also note, once you've presented at the podium, you don't have to stay around. If you want to exit the room and go home and enjoy the rest of your evening to yourself, then so be it. We're going to try to get through these relatively quickly. Once you present, we'll see if there's any questions from senators and we'll proceed. We're going to start this evening with, I believe we have 7 judges. And so if all of the judges would please stand and come up to the front desk here so our counsel, Madam Charity, could swear you in under oath, would greatly appreciate it. Should be 7.
Do you solemnly swear under the penalties of perjury that the statements you make and the testimony you give before this committee will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Excellent. You all may be seated. We're going to call you up one by one, starting with, I believe, is Senator Carter here? There she is. Hey, Senator Carter, welcome. Come on up. And you're going to start by introducing Judge David Bryan Dopey.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. It is really a pleasure and an honor to introduce this first judge, Judge David Bryan Aldubi. I've known him ever since law school, and from 1992 to 2014, he served in one of the most honorable positions and professions there is, the Office of the Public Defender. Since that time, he's been on the bench. He's served with grace, he served with integrity, he's trustworthy, and he understands the people of Baltimore. And so it's my great honor to recommend his reappointment to the bench. Judge Aldubi.
Thank you, Senator Carter. Chairman Hayes, Vice Chair Lamb, President Ferguson, thank you for the opportunity to appear before this body here today. Preliminarily, I would like to recognize some folks who have joined in support today. We have the Chief Judge of the District Court of Maryland, John Morrissey, present. Thank you, Judge Morrissey. We have the Administrative Judge for the District 1 in Baltimore City, the Honorable Jeffrey Henger, in the back. We'd also be remiss if I did not point out the 4 wonderful judges who I was appointed with 10 years ago, the Honorable Judge Green, Judge Smith, Judge Owens, and Judge Baylor Thompson. 10 years ago, I stood before this body, and I remember stating that I was both humbled and honored to have been appointed to the District Court in Baltimore City. 10 years later, that hasn't changed. I remain humbled and honored to serve the citizens of Baltimore and the state of Maryland. And I would ask this honorable body for a favorable recommendation. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Are there any questions for the judge? Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Next, Senator Carter, while you're hot already and already at the podium, let's go with Judge James Harry Green. And then we'll also follow up, Senator Carter, if you'd like, with your third appointee, Judge Diane Smith, after Judge Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee. It's also a great and distinct honor to highly recommend Judge James Harry Green. Jim Green, as I knew him, and we served down the hall from each other as law clerks. He with Judge Elsbeth Bothe, me with Judge Kenneth LaVon Johnson. We've known each other since then. He came highly recommended by then Judge Bothe to me, and many of us may remember him because he was government relations for Baltimore Police Department for many years. And so I've had the pleasure on some occasions to appear before him And I cannot speak more highly about Judge James Green. I highly recommend him. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Carter. Chair Hayes, Vice Chair Lamb, Mr. President, members of this committee. Thank you for the opportunity to appear again. Happy Maryland Day. And I ask this committee for a favorable report. I thank Chief Judge Morrissey, Administrative Judge Hanger, and as my colleague Judge Aldubi said, the other 4 judges that appear today from District 1, Baltimore City. It's really our distinct pleasure and honor to appear here as we did 10 years ago. And as Judge Aldubi said, it is my highest professional honor to have served the citizens of Baltimore for so many years. As Senator Carter said, for years I've served for over 30 years the citizens of Baltimore in a variety of capacities, and have loved every single one of them. This certainly being the highest of professional achievements, and would welcome any questions that this committee has. It's really an honor to return to this chamber, and I ask for a favorable report.
Are there any questions of Judge Green? Just a point of personal privilege, had a chance to work with Judge Green at the police department in several different capacities, and definitely second the nomination of Senator Carter. Thank you so very much this evening. Senator Carter, batting 1,000. Now we're at that's Judge Diane Smith, please.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, next I'd like to recommend Judge Diane Elise Smith. Now, Judge Diane Elise Smith happens to be the 3rd of my 3 judge recommendations that are constituents of the 41st District that also attended the greatest law school in Maryland and maybe America, the University of Baltimore Law School. You know, Judge Smith has also served with honor and distinction, and she also enjoys having been recognized this year by the Daily Record for the Leadership in Law Award. And so it's my great honor and privilege to bring to you Judge Diane Smith.
Greetings, President Ferguson, Chair Hayes, Vice Chair Lamb. It does not seem as though it had been 10 years since the last time I appeared. I am happy to report that during that 10-year period, I am honored to have been in a position to give to the residents of Baltimore City, as I have in my entire career for the last 25 years or so. The honor, the highest honor, I would like to thank those who are present to support me, including, as you've heard, my administrative judge, Judge Hengerer, Chief Judge Morrissey, and I also would like to thank the support of my family for supporting me during this 10-year period. I am looking forward to the next 10 years and serving Baltimore City in the same manner that I have, and I request respectfully for a favorable finding. I am available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so very much, Judge Smith. Are there any questions for Judge Smith? Seeing none, thank you so very much. Have a great evening. Next, we will hear from Senator Mary Washington, who will introduce Judge Baylor Thompson. Senator Washington, I know you have a couple of other appointments, but we want to get through the judges first, and then we'll circle back around to you.
I appreciate that. Good afternoon, colleagues. For the record, Senator Mary Washington, I am honored to present to you Judge Joyce Baylor Thompson for a reappointment for another 10-year period as District Court 1. Judge Thompson is a lifelong public servant and a Baltimore City resident, Morgan alum, and Associate Judge of the District Court of Maryland. She was admitted to the bar in 1993 and continued her legal career as Associate Judge for Baltimore City's Orphan Court before serving as the Chief Judge for 14 years before being appointed to her current position. We do know that our judges are more than the legal service, the legal responsibility that they have for our, frankly, holding up our democracy. She is an active member of City Temple Baptist Church, where she serves as chair of the Board of Trustees. She's also a member of the choir and has participated in various committees there. And throughout all of her professional accomplishments, she says that her greatest commitments accomplishment has been raising her son, Brandon, and being a source of strength to her entire large and extended family. So again, colleagues, I, without any reservations, recommend Judge Baylor Thompson to you.
Thank you so much. I want to thank Senator Washington for that wonderful introduction. And I would also like to take note of Senator Hayes as chair here, along with Senator Lamb, who is vice chair, and Senator Ferguson, who is Senate President. And I am acknowledging Tisha Edwards, who was so nice to give us instructions. So I'm going to make sure I mind what she said. And also to Governor Moore. And I also have with me today my chief judge for the district court, Judge Morrissey. And also I have Judge Hangerer, who's our administrative judge. And I'm so happy that both of them were able to attend today. I'm just a servant, and I've been a servant all my life. And I enjoy what I do. And the district court just gives me another chance to expand upon being a servant for the citizens of Baltimore City. I've been doing it all my life. And so I enjoy it. I think that the robe is it makes me feel honor and respect when I put that robe on, because I respect the people that come into the court. So basically, I'm not going to talk long because I want to keep in line with what Ms. Edwards said. So at this point, any questions that you might have for me, I would be more than willing to answer them.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Are there any questions of the judge? Seeing none, thank you so very much.
Thank you very much.
Next, we will hear from President Ferguson, who will introduce to us Judge Owens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the committee. It is my pleasure to at first say, it's hard to believe it's been 10 years since I first was standing in this position to nominate then just private practice attorney, but now Judge Flynn Owens. Actually, Senator Carter, as she was walking through, said yet another UB graduate is on the bench in Baltimore City, doing great work. You know, he is incredibly talented. For the last decade, has been a remarkable member of the bench. I don't think I need to explain too much in this reappointment. He is a phenomenal addition to the bench and should continue moving forward. Thank you.
Senate President Ferguson, thank you very much for those kind words. I'd also like to acknowledge Chairman Hayes, Vice Chairman Lamb, all other members of the committee. Also like to acknowledge my administrative judge, Judge Hangerer, as well as Chief Judge Morrissey of the District Court. I've had the honor and privilege of serving the citizens of Baltimore City in my capacity as a district court judge for the last 10 years. It's been a blink of an eye. It's just been the most wonderful experience of my career. I respectfully ask for a favorable recommendation from this committee so I may continue to serve the citizens of Baltimore City moving forward. I'd also be remiss briefly if I didn't acknowledge the other 4 members of the Fab Five, my class that I was appointed with, Judges Baylor, Thompson, Smith, Aldubi, and Green. No one could have better colleagues. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer those now.
Thank you, Judge Owens. Are there any questions of the judge? Thank you so very much. And have a
Thank
good
you.
evening.
Thank you, sir.
Next, we will hear from Senator Ellis, who will introduce to us Judge Watkins.
Chair Hayes, Vice Chair Lamb, Senate President Ferguson, and colleagues. I'm here to introduce Judge Watkins. So a quick story. I took a long weekend off to recover from crossover. I was on a beach in South Florida in Palm Beach. Yesterday, I said, let me get back to Maryland. So I know I got to excuse absence, but I'm here now because it came to me that Judge Watkins was on the list. It came to me like on the weekend. I'm like, what's going on? So this is an important position.
Thank you.
And so I said, let me get back here and say, so I really, first time meeting her. And so I respectfully ask that you hear her and give her Senate love. Thank you.
Good evening, Chairman Hayes, Vice Chair Lamb, Mr. President, and members of the committee. My name is Andrea Watkins, and I am an associate judge with the District Court of Maryland in Charles County. I am grateful and humbled to be appointed by Governor Moore to a second term. And I thank you for your consideration of my confirmation. During the last 2 years, I've led efforts to establish a mental health docket in the District Court for Charles County. I've also become an advocate for a pretrial service program in Charles County through my work as the District Court designate to the Charles County Circuit Court's Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. I don't think I could add really anything more than what my colleagues have stated. This job is a humbling one. It is a honor to serve the citizens of Charles County and the state of Maryland. And I'd like to thank Governor Moore, the members of the committee, Senator Ellis, as well as my fellow judges, including Chief Judge Morrissey and Administrative Judge Chesser, who is not here today. My husband, George, and daughter, Clara, are outside, and they've been a constant support for me over the last 10 years. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions of Judge Watkins? Thank you, Senator Ellis, for your presentation, coming all the way back here from sunny
Yes.
South
Thank you.
Florida. It's
Thank
a
you,
commitment
thank
to his service. So Judge Watkins, I would encourage you to get in contact with the senator so he could get to know you better after this. Thank you so very much. Lastly, we will hear from Senator Zucker, who will introduce to us Judge Nee.
Well, thank you very much, colleagues, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. It's my great pleasure to introduce and really recommend one of my friends, Judge Nee. This is his 10 years are up. We were talking about, we've known each other for 24, 25 years. I won't say how old we were when we met, but before he was a judge for these last 10 years, he spent 21 years in the state's attorney's office, both in Montgomery County and Prince George's County. He's dedicated his entire career to public service. And the one thing that I would say that he and I are very similar with is, on one of his hobbies, he says he's a mediocre golf player, and that's pretty much me. So with that, it's my great pleasure to really recommend and back Judge Nee.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Zucker. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. Chairman Hayes, Senate President Ferguson, Vice Chairman Lamb, Craig, thanks. And Judge Morrissey, thank you for being here, and thank you so much for supporting me over the years. I also want to thank Governor Moore for reappointing me for this position. And 10 years, it just goes by like that. And again, every day when I put on those robes, I'm just very humbled. And if I can continue in this position, I promise I'll do my best to do a good job. And one of the judicial canons about a judge says a judge should be patient, dignified, and courteous. And I will try and do those things. Thank you so much. Any questions?
Thank you, Judge Nee. Are there any questions of Judge Nee? The Judges Morrissey and Judges Hanger, thank you all so much for coming here and showing support to members of the benches as you always have. That concludes the judges that we will hear from this evening. Now we're going to move on to Senator Jennings, who will introduce to us Stephen Linkles.
Thank you, Mr. President, or Mr. Chairman. Vice Chair, Mr. President, distinguished members of the committee, Senator Jennings for Mr. Steve Linkus, who's been appointed as Board of Trustees of the Maryland Automobile Insurance Fund. I appreciate this. He's actually getting ready to get on a plane to head to a insurance convention. So ironically, Steve is an incredible pillar of the Harford County community. For almost 40 years, he's been with Harford Mutual Insurance Company, the last 18 as the president of it. Anybody goes into Bel Air, it's big colonial building, looks similar to some of our Senate and office buildings. It's beautifully lit in the wintertime, holidays, but he knows insurance. You know, he's one of the people when we have these bills, when I was on finance, these would come up. He was somebody I would always reach out to get his guidance, his input. And I don't think there's a better person for this position. So with that, I strongly endorse him and ask that you guys give him courtesy.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to Senator Jennings and good evening, everybody. Want to thank Senator Chair Hayes, Senator Vice Chair Lamb, as well as President Bill Ferguson. Thank you very much, as well as thank the governor for the recommendation of the appointment. I've been dedicated to the insurance industry since I was 17 and at Harford Mutual since 17. You know, giving back, we are a mutual insurance company, so that means we're owned by our policyholders. And so my job is to make sure that we take care of them. And I would bring that same passion and dedication to the MAIF board of making sure that it's a viable marketplace for our constituents across the state and making sure, and just open up the floor to anybody that might have a question.
Indeed. Thank you so very much for your presentation. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you so very much. Now we'll hear from Senator Bidel, who has a district night tonight. So we're going to go a tad bit out of order. And first we'll hear from Elizabeth Sola and followed by Jaquetta Jacobs. Senator Bidel.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for taking me early. I appreciate it. So Chairman Hayes, Vice Chair Lamb, President Ferguson, thank you for hearing our nominees tonight. I want to introduce Elizabeth Solar. Very interesting story. She's lived in Maryland 6 months. She moved from after almost 20 years at Harvard, came here, wanted to get involved, applied on the governor's portal, and she's here tonight to be on the Judicial Disabilities Commission, and I think she's going to be a great asset with her 20 years at Harvard, and I'm so pleased to introduce Elizabeth, but she goes by Liz Solar.
Hello, I'd like to thank Governor Moore for this nomination. Senator Bidel, thank you for your introduction. We met on the phone the other day and my family was so impressed. I was talking to a senator on the phone. Thank you, Chairman Hayes, Vice Chair Lamb, and Senator President Ferguson. I'm, as a newcomer from cold New England to this beautiful state of Maryland, I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to be of service and to serve on this commission. My background has always been public interest, and so I'm just excited to be here and do some work in Maryland. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you so very much. Senator Bidel.
Thank you again. So my next nominee is School Safety Subcabinet Advisory Board, Jaquetta LaVon Jacobs. And I did not get an opportunity to actually speak with Ms. Jacobs, but her bio is pretty amazing. Her background in project management is just really amazing. And I think she's going to do a great job on the School Safety Subcabinet Advisory Board. So Jaquetta. Thank you.
Greetings, Chairman Hayes, Vice Chair Lamb, Senate President Ferguson, and Ms. Edwards for your diligent instruction. My name is Jaquetta Jacobs. I would like to acknowledge Governor Moore for appointment to the School Safety Subcabinet Advisory Board. Here today supporting me are my twin rock star daughters, Nadia and Nia Reagan, that are juniors at Meade High School in Anne Arundel County, and also my friend and sorority sister, Tanisha Johnson, who shares my passion for public service. Are there any questions?
Excellent. Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you so very much.
Can I just add one thing, one
Sure,
interesting fact?
absolutely.
Both of my nominees tonight have twins. Isn't that interesting?
Oh, wow. It's a very interesting fun fact. Thank you for sharing. Senator King, we're going to have you introduce Wallace Sermons. And as Senator King make our way to the podium, I do want to acknowledge the chair of the Legislative Black Caucus of Maryland, Delegate Janelle Wilkins, has joined us this evening in support of the nominee, as well as I thought I saw a Secretary of the Department of General Services also here in support of tonight's nominee. Senator King.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I'm very excited to be here tonight to do this because I never get appointees from my district. I just want to say that. And so now I have one and he's actually living right in my community. So that makes it even better. It's my pleasure to introduce and recommend to the committee Mr. Wallace Sermons. He's resident of Montgomery Village in Montgomery County's 39th district. I had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Sermons for the first time last week and found out that we have a mutual friend, Senator Nick Charles, who's here. Mr. Sermons has an impressive academic background with undergraduate degrees from Prince George's Community College, UMUC, an MBA from UMUC, and his JD from the David A. Clark School of Law, where he graduated magna cum laude. Mr. Sermons also served in the U.S. Air Force and the U.S. Air Guard in Maryland's National Guard 175th Wing. Mr. Sermons has an exceptional career with the federal government, working for the Environmental Protection Agency, Health and Human Services, Department of Energy, and most recently as Deputy Director of the Small Business Administration's Office of Government Contracting. In September of last year, he accepted the position of Deputy Chief Procurement Officer with Maryland's Department of General Services. Mr. Sermons' knowledge and experience make him an excellent candidate for Chief Procurement Office of the Department of General Services, and I highly endorse his recommendation, his nomination.
Thank you, Senator King. While Secretary Chaudhry was out of the room, we acknowledged him, but just joining back in the room is the Secretary of the Department of General Services here to support tonight's nominee. Welcome, Mr. Secretary.
So thank you, Senator King, for such a warm introduction. Good evening, Chair Hayes, Vice Chair Lamb, President Ferguson, and distinguished members of the Executive Nominations Committee. Again, my name is Wallace Sermons II, and I am honored to be nominated by the Governor Moore and Lieutenant Governor Miller to serve as Chief Procurement Officer for Maryland's Department of General Services, Office of State Procurement. I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve alongside my colleagues in administration, many of which are present here today and across the state in partnership with the General Assembly to serve and advance the interests of Maryland, its citizens, and its business partners. I would like to personally thank, first of all, my daughter who is not present, but if I don't mention her when she sees this, Aria Sermons, Secretary Atif Chaudhry, Deputy Secretary Nelson Reichert, Deputy Chief of Staff Manny Welsh, and the many senators who have spent time with me in recent weeks, helping me prepare for this transition, including my Senator Nancy King of Montgomery County, District 39, who is committed to procurement excellence for the state, as well as Senator Nick Charles and Delegate Wilkins for their unwavering support. I'm committed to collaborating across all levels of state government to support a thriving and equitable marketplace and establish Maryland as a preferred business partner and our state as the gold standard for procurement excellence. Thank you to the committee for your consideration of my nomination. I look forward to any questions the members may have.
Senator Zucker.
Thank you very much. I just, I think he's going to do a great job. We're very lucky to have him in the state of Maryland. I just wanted to second the nomination.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator McCray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I know this was already said, but just wanted to recognize again that Madam Chair from the Black Caucus, so he brought the muscle from that standpoint. So thank you again, Mr. Chair.
Senator McCray, I think he's the first one to come with two senators, a delegate, a secretary, and a partridge in a pear tree. Thank you so very much. Are there any additional questions for Mr. Wallace? Thank you so very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you for the time.
Next, we're going to hear from Senator Watson. And Senator Watson has three nominees. He has a district night tonight, so we're going to try to accommodate him expeditiously. The first person that Senator Watson is going to introduce is Ade Abisi. Feel free to correct me when you come to the mic. That's going to be followed by Carol Johnson, and then Yvette Lewis will be the third person that we'll hear from. Senator Watson.
I think we have Gina James.
Gina James, we'll find her.
Not Carol Johnson.
All right.
Well, good afternoon, colleagues. Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, Mr. President, good to see all of you. Senator Watson from the 23rd Legislative District here to bring forth Mr. Adi Adebisi for the State Lottery and Gaming Control Commission. Adi holds a BS in Computer Science and Business from the University of Tampa and an MBA from the Sykes School of Business. He's the founder and president of Asalon Corporation in Landover, Maryland, a professional services and IT company that specializes in healthcare quality improvement, cybersecurity, quality management systems, and program management solution. His professional portfolio also includes senior management at KPMG Consulting, consulting manager at Ernst & Young, manager at Gannett Corporation, and as senior manager at Price Waterhouse Consultants. Adi is involved in many charities and community activities. He's provided his expertise through various public speaking engagements and is often seated as a panelist in conferences hosted by industry leaders. Ladies and gentlemen of the committee, Mr. Adi Adebisi.
Thank you. Greetings. I'd like to thank Senator Watson for that great introduction and for his sponsorship and support. Committee Chair Hayes, Vice Chair Lamb, members of the committee, Senate President Ferguson. I'm honored to be here this evening to accept this nomination to appear before you for consideration to serve on this important State Lottery Gaming Control Commission for the state. I want to thank Governor West Moore for nominating me, as well as I'd like to thank Secretary Edwards for her support for shepherding this nomination for me. It is a very important role for the state. But before I go on, I'd like to acknowledge my wife who's here with me today. I have to do that because she's the one that makes sure that I honor all my commitments. I recognize that the Lottery and Gaming Commission, this agency is responsible for 1/4 of the revenue of the state. And as a business owner, I recognize this, and with expertise in revenue generation and leadership, I think I can be a real positive influence serving on this commission. If my nomination is approved, I will apply those skills as well as my expertise in information technology, contract and procurement management, revenue generation, business development, to make a positive influence or a positive difference for the state and that commission. So having said that, thank you for your consideration, and I will now answer any questions you have for me. Thank you so very much. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you so very much. Thank you. Senator Watson, you're going to introduce Gina James.
They get his secret passwords over here. Good afternoon again, colleagues. Senator Watson from the 23rd District here to introduce Ms. Gina James for the School Safety Sub-Cabinet Advisory Board. She holds a BS in psychology, a master's in human services counseling psychology, and in special education, and is working on her PhD in human services and organizational leadership. Gina has licensed certifications in advanced professional teaching by the Maryland State Department of Education, graduate professional counseling by the Maryland Department of Health. She's currently the CEO of the Foundation Schools Organization in Largo, Maryland, from which she was previously the chief academic officer in 2016. She's held several leadership roles with the Foundation School, including school director, education director, supervisor of teachers, and she was also a special education teacher at the Central High School in Prince George's County, my alma mater, I have to say. She's a longtime member of several notable boards and associations in special education and leadership, and a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Ladies and gentlemen of the committee, Ms. Gina James.
Greetings, everyone. Greetings to the committee chair, Hayes, Vice Chairman Lamb, Senate President Ferguson, and members of the committee. Thank you for having me here today. I am honored and grateful for your consideration. I thank Governor Moore and Senator Ron Watson for the recommendation and support for the appointment. I look forward to providing my services and duty to the committee and the state of Maryland. I welcome any questions.
Are there any questions for Ms. James? Thank you so very much. Have a good evening. Senator Watson, you're going to round us out with number 45, the Honorable Yvette Lewis.
Good afternoon, colleagues. I am here to present someone who needs no introduction to this body, the Honorable Miss Yvette Lewis. Miss Lewis holds a bachelor's in music and theory from the Howard University in Washington, D.C. She was appointed to the U.S. Commission on Presidential Scholars by President Obama, and she was presented with an American flag that was flown over the Capitol in recognition of service to the state of Maryland by Congressman Steny Hoyer. What you might not know about Miss Lewis is that she is an opera singer by trade and training, but her professional career in the political arena is just as distinctive and meritorious as her performances and her voice. She was chair of the Maryland Democratic Party for 2 terms from 2011, 2015, and again 2019 to 2023. She was the senior advisor and director of outreach for U.S. Senator Chris Van Hollen. She was the president and CEO of All About the Vote, 501c3 nonprofit org, whose mission is to ensure that no one is denied the right to vote. She was founder of So This Is Opera, a program that introduced opera to students K through 12, integrating the art form into the standard curriculum. Her program was presented to students in over 2,000 schools up and down the Eastern Seaboard and in 7 states. She established the Fresh Start Scholarship Fund at Bowie State University for returning citizens, and she mentored young adults on government and civil engagement. So you've heard enough from me, ladies and gentlemen. Of the committee, I present the Honorable Miss Yvette Lewis.
Thank you all so much. Mr. Chair Hayes, Vice Chair Lamb, and Senate President Ferguson. Thank you all so much for having me. Senator Watson, thank you for the lovely introduction. I'm honored and I'm humbled and slightly overwhelmed to be standing here before you all. I am so grateful. I'm grateful to Governor Moore and to Secretary Edwards for her patience in guiding me through all of this. I'm particularly grateful to my husband who could not be here because he literally got me off of a cruise ship to get me here in time for this hearing today. So thank you very much to him. But honestly, this is such an honor for me. I have worked with children, young adults all of my life. And to me, an investment in our young people is an investment in the future. So I certainly look forward to this opportunity. I ask for your support and I thank you all very much. And I honor any questions that you have.
Thank you, Senator Muse.
Thank you very much. Every time that Ron Watson introduces someone, I want to pass the plate and shout amen and all that stuff. He does such a good job, but you've done a wonderful job for our state for a long, long time. And I want to second your nomination and welcome you to your new position.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank
Amen.
you, sir. Senator Augustine.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also want to second the nomination. Ms. Lewis is a tremendous leader. The university system is really, really going to benefit from her abilities. She also is a wonderful mentor of mine, and I'm really grateful for that. And I just very strongly second the nomination.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Augustine. Senator McCray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm also going to second after the 2 other people second her nomination. I got to play Madam Chair's second for a hot second. And Mr. Chair, she leads with grace. She has phenomenal instincts. And like a lot of the folks in this room, she's never afraid to roll up her sleeves and do the hard work. So I just say, what a great nomination. Look forward to second. And thank you, Mr. Chair.
Vice Chair Lamb.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I'll be the fourth second to her nomination. I've known Ms. Lewis for many, many years, and just a tremendous and phenomenal leader, someone who always cherishes diversity and who's always willing to step up and advocate for efforts along those lines. So I really appreciate all of your leadership through many years, someone who's a tireless worker who's crisscrossed the state on many occasions for really important causes. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well said, President Ferguson.
Thank you. I will have to pile on here because it's worth it for somebody that leads with vision and heart, but also is practical and thoughtful. And I think it's a skill that is something that I've learned a lot from, and it's been an honor to learn from you along the way. I think the board's going to be very grateful and thankful to have you serving. Thank you.
And lastly, a point of personal privilege. I think everyone has said it. We do appreciate you and appreciate your service. Given your service to the state of Maryland, it would have been easy just to show up because we all know you very well. But for you to take the time to reach out to us and make sure that we knew that your commitment to the state of Maryland is definitely appreciated. So thank you so much for your willingness to serve the state.
And for those of you that I did not personally reach, I certainly hope you got a message from me. So thank you all very much. I'm really honored. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions? Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Next, we will hear from Senator Sidnor, who will introduce to us Monica Mitchell. That name sounds familiar.
All right. Good evening, everyone. As you all know, one of the governor's priority is making Maryland more affordable. While I have not had an opportunity to meet Ms. Mitchell until today, and looking at her resume, one can only see that she has a plethora of experience to help to make Maryland more affordable. That word sometimes seems like a nasty word when you talk about affordability and housing, but really when one thinks about it, it's about making certain that many of our civil servants have the opportunity to live in housing that they can afford. Anyhow, she's been appointed or nominated to serve on our Affordable Housing Trust as a trustee. She is a senior vice president and chief of staff and strategy at Wells Fargo and would do extremely well in this position serving the people of Maryland. So with that, I give you Ms. Mitchell.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you, Senator Sidnor. I want to take a moment to thank Governor Moore, Secretary Edwards for the nomination to the Affordable Housing Trust Board of Trustees. Greetings, Chairman Hayes, Vice Chair Lamb, Senate President Ferguson, and members of the committee. Thank you so much for the opportunity to appear before this body today. I do want to take a moment to acknowledge the support of my family and especially both of my sons who are juniors at Morgan State University. They can't be here today. One is out volunteering. The other is out campaigning as he launched his campaign for Mr. Morgan State University. That's right. But I like to think that my heart for service has planted seeds in them that are now bearing fruit, which I'm extraordinarily grateful for. With that, I am open to any questions.
Are there any questions? Senator McCray.
I'm on a roll today, Mr. Chair. Just point of personal privilege. Miss Mitchell is doing not just, I know of her sons, but like she's doing phenomenal work at our in my district. She actually helped to spearhead and start a school that was within my footprint, Lily Mae Carroll. So I'm just thankful for her leadership around not just her sons, but the education of all of our young scholars across the state of Maryland. So thank you again for your leadership.
Thank you.
Indeed. Are there any additional questions? I too, when I looked down at the agenda, I was like, is that Monica Mitchell? I've known Monica for a very, very long time and an extraordinary servant to Baltimore City and the state of Maryland. So honored to have you here today in front of this committee. Are there any additional questions for Ms. Mitchell? Seeing none, thank you so very much. Next, Vice Chair Lamb will introduce to us on behalf of Senator Foden, Dorikeen Rosarian. Vice Chair Lamb.
All right, while Ms. Rosarian proceeds to the podium, really pleased to be able to introduce her to the committee. Senator Fulton sends his apologies that he could not be here this afternoon, but Ms. Rosarian has tremendous experience both in Montgomery County and also in Baltimore City. Previously, or currently serving as a special assistant to the Montgomery County Department of Health and Human Services, as a strategic advisor to the director of DHHS in Montgomery County, as well as previously having been the deputy chief of staff for the Baltimore City Health Department, and prior to that with the Office of the Mayor. She brings skills in customer service and also analytics, which I think are going to be important for her work as a nominee to the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Cannabis Commission. With that, Ms. Rosarian.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the introduction. President Hayes, thank you. It's good to see you. I should say Chairman, my apologies.
That's what friends will do for you.
Yes. Once again, I'm Dorothy Rosarian. I'm very excited to be nominated for the ATCC. I have many years of public sector experience, and right now I'm at the Department of Health and Human Services within Montgomery County. And previously I was with the Baltimore City Health Department. I have experienced and been on the front lines of many of the public health and social services challenges and opportunities that we have experienced over the last 15 to almost 20 years. Most recently COVID, but also the implementation of the Affordable Care Act. Right now on all of our radars are the state's response to opioid, as well as the need for increased mental health services. So I am a collaborative leader. I believe in customer service excellence, as Vice Chairman Lamb mentioned, and I am, dedicated and truly believe in being an honorable and trusted member of my department and a good public servant at that. If this nomination should move forward, I look forward to working collaboratively with the staff at the TCC as well as the fellow commissioners. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Are there any questions? Thank you so much for your service, Dora King. Like I said, Secretary Edwards and the governor has done an extraordinary job at putting together a very qualified group of individuals to represent our state in various capacities, and I count you among them. Thank you so much for your presentation this evening.
Thank you.
Next, Senator Kramer will introduce Susan Schaefer.
Well, good evening, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, Mr. President, and the members of Executive Noms. Ben Kramer here to introduce a qualified nominee for the Board of Trustees of Blind Industries and Services of Maryland, Ms. Susan Schaefer. Ms. Schaefer has an extensive background in history with 36 years in vocational rehabilitation, including 4 years already with the Blind Industries and Services of Maryland, and 12 years before that with the Maryland State Department of Education, Division of Rehabilitative Services. With that, I'd like to introduce Ms. Susan Schaefer.
Thank you very much, Senator Kramer. Thank you, Governor Moore, for the nomination. I appreciate the opportunity to appear here today. Chair Anthony Hayes, Vice Chair Lamb, and Senate President Ferguson. I was a state employee for over 36 years and then did some consulting work at Blind Industries and Services of Maryland. I moved out of state for 4 years. A few months ago, I got a call from BISM and they said, we heard you back in the state and would you be interested in helping us out? I've spent my career working with people with disabilities and particularly individuals blind and low vision. As a blind, low vision individual myself, I think I bring a lot to this position and ask for you to forward my recommendation. Are there any questions?
Are there any additional questions? Seeing none, Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from is Senator Quarterman here? Didn't see him. Senator Quarterman. Oh, I'm turn it over to Vice Chair Hayes. Vice Chair Lamb. That's one of those days.
All right, we're gonna proceed to Noah Thomas Matheny. This is Senator Quarterman's constituent. He apologized he could not be here for this nomination to the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights. And so this is the letter from Senator Quarterman. Mr. Matheny's resume is highly commended. His professional and leadership experience in the public health field will prove to be an asset on the commission. His expertise and knowledge in the field of HIV and AIDS, COVID-19, and other health programs worldwide speaks for itself. As Senator Quarterman mentions, he's pleased to be able to fully support the nomination of the appointment of Noah Thomas Matheny to serve on the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights.
Thank you, Vice Chairman
Thank
Lamb. Chair Hayes, Senate President Ferguson, esteemed members of this committee, my name's Noah Matheny. I would like to acknowledge and thank Governor Moore for this appointment to the Civil Rights Commission, and I would be happy to answer any questions the committee might have.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you so very much. Next, Senator Ellis is back at the podium. He's going to introduce to us Diane Sandoval, I believe. Sandoval.
Good afternoon again, Chair Hayes, Vice Chair Lamb, and Senate President Ferguson, members of the Executive Nomination Committee. I'm Senator Arthur Ellis from District 28, Charles County, to introduce and highly support Ms. Diane Sandoval to the College of Southern Maryland Board of Trustees. She has a distinguished resume, a Navy veteran, doing those tough Navy stuff. I'm an Air Force guy, so I respect the Navy. Air Crew Electronics System Specialist, Event and Service Program Coordinator. And check this out, lactation room specialist. Our Macho Navy is taking care of the female members also. She has extensive knowledge in so many areas. She's an activist in Charles County, working so hard, leading advocate for the reopening of the La Plata Pool. Those of you on budget and taxation in Tripoli know about those issues, and she's the organizer for bringing up all those folks to testify, to say how important this resource is for the community. She's even a graduate of the College of Southern Maryland. So I know time is short. I won't belabor the point. I'd like to just ask for your favorable recommendation for Ms. Sandoval.
Thank you, Governor Westmore, Senator Arthur Ellis, Chair Hayes, Vice Chair Lamb, Senate President Ferguson, and members of the Executive Nominations Committee. If there's one thing the military taught me, it's the importance of community and being directly involved in it. I grew up in Southern Maryland and earned a degree at CSM. I worked at the college's pool and saw firsthand how the pool and college as a whole provide the resources our community needs to thrive. People of all ages, from babies through the elderly, depend on this college. Even my own young daughters have benefited from it. I have decades of experience in community services, and I'm so honored to be nominated to be a part of such an impactful institution. Thank you so much, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you so very much. Have a good evening. Vice Chair Lamb is going to introduce to us Keely Lee on behalf of Senator Kelly.
Right. Good evening, and really pleased to be able to present Keely Lee to the Executive Nominations Committee. Senator Kelly apologizes that she could not be here this evening, but has sent a letter of support on your behalf for your nomination to the Maryland Economic Development Commission. She references your work as leading the World Shine Group to be able to continue to meet market needs and provide strong support for our aging population, as well as the promotion of the development of the elderly care industry which has had a long-standing positive impact on our community. And she also references your active involvement in promoting economic, business, and cultural exchanges between the United States and China through the United States Chinese Association of Commerce. And also just wanted to personally thank you for being here and for your nomination as well. I know you've been very involved in the Asian American community, and certainly appreciate your service to help foster greater economic ties between Maryland and China as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Hayes, Vice Chair Lam, and President Ferguson. And I also want to thank Governor Moore for his appointment. As a business owner for the last 25 years, I'm proud and excited to serve on the Maryland Economic Development Commission. I'm here to answer any questions you guys have.
Are there any questions for Mr. Lee? Excellent. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Is Senator Charles still with us? Yeah, there he is. Senator Charles is going to introduce to us Eben Smith. Thank you, Senator Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And to the committee, thank you all for allowing us to share some quick words about an amazing individual. I'm ecstatic that the governor has appointed Eben to the Maryland Economic Development Commission. And I'm looking forward to your all support for this hardworking individual. He has a resume that is spectacular, something you don't get to see too often. The amount of work he's done in the business community, from the amount of boards that he sits on, and the work that he's done for development of Prince George's County with one of our crown jewels when it comes to the Maryland National Harbor. Eben has been at the forefront of just about all of these projects, and having him a member of the Maryland Economic Development Commission is going to speak volumes to the things that we'll see for our state and the impact that he has already made on our county. It is going to be tripled with him being in our Economic Development Commission. I'm now going to give it over to Eben and let him give you a little bit about himself. And I look forward to your support for this great man. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. As I was coming up, they told me to practice the 3 Bs. And if you don't know what that means, that's brother, be brief. So I'm gonna talk fast if you agree to listen slow. I just want to thank Chair Hayes, Vice Chair Lamb, Senate President Ferguson for your leadership. I want to thank my Senator Nick Charles for his support. I also like to thank the Governor Westmore for this appointment. I'm excited and humbled, like everybody before me, to come and serve the great state of Maryland. And I look forward to bringing my skill set from the public sector, from the private sector, and from all the economic development projects that I've worked on over the last 8 or 9 years. So with that, I'll stop and take any questions if there are any.
I appreciate your brief but brilliant presentation this evening. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Next, we will hear from Senator Kramer, who will introduce to us last name Chicas. Yeah, Amedes, Chicas.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair, colleagues. Ben Kramer, here to introduce to you Mr. Jimenez Chicas, who is a nominee for the Board of Trustees of the Office of the Public Defender. Mr. Chicas is a graduate of the University of Maryland, Francis King Carey School of Law. He is a partner and the head of the Immigration Department at the law offices of Jezik and Moise. And he is the past chair of the American Immigration Lawyers Association, as well as the DC Chapter Liaison Committee to the Baltimore Immigration and Customs Enforcement Field Office. He has practiced immigration law exclusively for more than 14 years. And I will now turn it over to Mr. Chicas who is eminently qualified.
Thank you, Senator Kramer. And good evening. Happy Maryland Day to everyone. Chairman Hayes, Vice Chair Lamb, Senate President Ferguson, thank you for having me here. Esteemed members of this committee. It's my pleasure to be here, and I thank Governor Moore for this appointment. I been practicing law for over 14 years now in the state of Maryland. I've had the opportunity to work directly with the great public defenders throughout the state who really work hard to ensure that the rights of all Marylanders, both under the Maryland Declaration of Rights, under the U.S. Constitution, are preserved and protected. And I really have seen firsthand the critical, necessary, and really talismanic role they play in ensuring that anyone who's caught up in our criminal justice system gets their fair day in court. So it's a pleasure to be nominated for this oversight role with the Board of Trustees for the Public Defender's Office. I very much look forward to serving in that capacity. I've had a chance to speak with the current chair, Mr. McCurdy, and look forward to working with him. And I ask for your support, and I'm prepared to answer any questions any of you may have.
President Ferguson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to second the nomination. We were in law school together in the same small section, Section G. So it's great to see you continuing to do amazing work. No surprise there whatsoever.
Thank you.
Excellent. Are there any additional questions? Thank you so very much. Next, we will hear from Senator Charles again. Senator Charles, has he left the building? Oh, there he is. And colleagues, we try to, especially folks that aren't on the committee, we try to call them. Usually they let us know ahead of time, but I'm gonna try to get everyone who's visiting the committee just to introduce their colleagues out the way first, and then come back to the ones who are remaining here. Just bear with us as we get through the agenda. Senator Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to the committee again, thank you all. I have the pleasure of introducing Dr. Awawu Ojikutu. She currently serves on the Maryland Healthcare Commission, and we're looking to continue that. As a Prince Georgian, as a nurse practitioner, as a doctor, she has a keen eye on the issues that the entire state of Maryland needs, and we're proud to have a strong Prince Georgian representing us on this board as it deals with all the certificate of need issues across the state of Maryland. And so I'd like to thank her for her steadfast support of Prince George's and the state of Maryland, and let her come up and give some words about who she is and the work that she's been doing, and ask for your support. So thank you all for your early support for her.
Thank you, Senator Charles. Thank you, Chair Hayes, Vice Chair Lamb, Senate President Ferguson, and I'd also like to thank Governor Moore as well as the nominating committee for this reappointment. As a proud Prince Georgian, I am very excited to continue the mission of the Healthcare Commission, and I'm open for any questions if you have any.
Nice and brief. Thank you so very much. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you so very much. Next, we'll hear from Senator Jennings, who's going to introduce to us John Frederick Von Paris. That's a name.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to correct one thing from my previous nominee, Steve Linkus. He actually told me when we were out there, not only is he flying out tonight to go back to the insurance seminar, he actually flew in from the insurance seminar to do this, and he's heading back out. So dedication, Mr. Chairman. So Senator Jennings, on behalf of Mr. John Von Paris, for reappointment to the Maryland Transportation Authority. Mr. Von Paris, he has a name that might sound a little familiar. His family owns a storage and moving business. It's been around for over 100 years. John is the owner now. He runs it with his family. They're a pretty big organization. They've actually moved 3 presidents in and out of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. They've done work at the Vatican. More importantly, they moved the Ravens. And I'm proud to say that as of right now, the trucks have been loaded in Sarasota, and they're heading north on 95, bringing the Orioles home so that we can have opening day. But I say that because Transportation Authority deals with our roadway and our infrastructure. This gentleman knows it with the trucks he has on the road. The men and women that work for him, they see it every day. As I said, this is a reappointment. He actually served as the chairman of the MTA's Finance Committee, so he knows it very well. He's done an incredible job, and it's my honor to ask for his reappointment. And also, I want to say he's here with his wife, Patty, son, Sammy, and his wife, Serena.
Thank you, Senator Jennings, for your kind comments. Chairman Hayes, Vice Chairman Lamb, Senate President Ferguson, and members of the Executive Nominating Committee. Thanks for inviting me to this hearing this evening. I'd like to thank Governor Moore for supporting my reappointment to the MDTA board. And Senator already has pointed out my wife and my son and my daughter-in-law over there. So thank you for your support here this evening. I'm open for any questions.
Thank you. Senator, we'll take Senator Smith, followed by Senator Hershey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I'm right, this is going to be awesome. If I'm wrong, it'll be a little weird. But so is your son, one of your sons is a Naval Academy graduate?
He is. He's a lieutenant commander.
That's right.
And
So, hey, where is he? Is he? Hey, so we were in a naval leadership course. It's required every 5 years for naval officers, and we sat next to each other. So I wanted to say thank you and hey, how are you? And I'll second the nomination for a fine family and a fine man. So
thank you.
There you go. Yeah, that would have been awesome. That would have been weird if it was wrong.
Senator Hershey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and appreciate that. You were correct there. So, but I just want to also second the nomination of Mr. Von Paris and his efforts that he's already had on the MDTA board. We've had several conversations about your expertise on the financing aspects of it, dealing with the trust agreements. And again, I'm sure we'll talk fairly often, but definitely glad to see that he's back and continuing on the MDTA board.
Thank you, Senator.
Are there any additional questions? Seeing none, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Senator Washington, we're going to bring you back with 3 nominees. We're going to start with Diana Emerson, followed by Kalila Harris. Oh, that's a familiar name.
Yes.
And then lastly, we're going to round out with Carol Paisley.
Well, thank you for that. Greetings again. For the record, Senator Mary Washington, proud to represent 43rd District, Baltimore City, Baltimore County. Ms. Emerson and I have known each other. I actually had to calculate it. But we've known each other for more than a decade. And you have her resume, but she's been a huge leader in our community. We have done street cleaning projects together. She's done tremendous amount of work in community and neighborhood revitalization, junior achievement, helping to ensure that our young women understand the business aspects of running a business, of being fiscally responsible, of supporting community. And I'm terribly honored to have this opportunity to recommend that she fulfill an existing term on the Maryland Industrial Development and Financing Authority. Currently, she serves as the executive director for Waverly Main Street. That's one of Baltimore City's 8 main streets that provides vital services and sourcing well over $1.5 million in resources for the businesses that are located along the Route 45, also known as the Greenmount and York Road corridor. She's a board member of the Baltimore Architecture Foundation, the Women's Executive Alliance, and also serves as the vice chair of the Baltimore City Democratic Central Committee. She is also a Towson University graduate. So again, I'd like to present Ms. Emerson and for your consideration and support.
Thank you, Senator Washington, for that introduction and kind words. I'd like to acknowledge Chairman Hayes. I know Vice Chairman Lamb stepped out, and Senate President Ferguson, as well as Governor Moore and Secretary Edwards for this opportunity. I will be brief because that is what we were told to do. I've had the opportunity to work in Baltimore City as well as across the state, supporting small businesses all the way to national organizations. I understand deeply the need for industrial growth and support, as well as the importance of smart economic development throughout the state of Maryland for the success of the state. And again, I just want to thank you for this opportunity, and I am happy to answer any questions this evening.
Are there any questions? Thank you so very much. Senator Washington, you want to introduce Ms. Harris?
Say not yet. No, anyway, so thank you. Thank you, colleagues. Once again, I am honored to present to you a neighbor, a friend, someone I've known for a very long time, for her to continue to serve on the Maryland Police Training and Standards Commission. Dr. Khalila Harris is a storied policy and leadership specialist. She has served as a senior policy advisor in the U.S. Office of Personnel Management. She served for the managing director of a K-12 Education Policy Center, for the Center for American Progress, deputy director within the U.S. Education's White House initiatives on educational excellence. She's been a producer for a news network, the Real News Network. She is a Morgan State alum. She has her JD from the University of Maryland Law School, but also she has her doctorate degree from the University of Pennsylvania. And I suppose I should also say that she is a life member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. Now, she, as one of her first jobs, was to serve as the high school coordinator for the Community Law in Action project. So that was almost 20 years ago. She has been has commented on MSBC and all kinds of things. But so I asked her daughter, Kendall, who's here, and I showed her what I had written and what I was planning to present. And I said, is there anything else we should know about your mom? And she thought about it. She didn't just give an answer. So clearly she's teaching her well. And she says, well, my mom's a Ravenclaw. Now, in case you don't know what a Ravenclaw is, it is completely appropriate for understanding her. And I'm excited about bringing this perspective to the police training and standards. A Ravenclaw has learning, wisdom, wit, and intelligence. So colleagues, I present Dr. Khalila Harris.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Between all of the student loans she announced, I also attended Hogwarts, apparently. Thank you, Kendall. So I want to thank you, Chair Antonio Hayes, Vice Chair Lamb, Senate President Bill Ferguson. I want to thank Secretary Edwards and Governor Moore for the nomination. It's an honor to be here today. I love that it's Maryland Day. This is my 30th year in Maryland. I was dropped off by a charter bus when I was 16 to attend Morgan State University. And so it's been a journey full circle. I've known many of you around this table before you were elected, whether we were marching for women's rights or Senator Sidner when we were in law school, when you were a teacher. And so it's really great to be here, organizing for labor. This is critically important to me. I currently serve as Chief Strategic Advisor at the Center for Policing Equity. When I served in the Obama administration, I worked with young people around relationships with law enforcement in schools. And my current role is to think about the three legs of the stool: community engagement, elected officials, and law enforcement, on how we reimagine public safety and how we make sure that there's intensified harm reduction so that all citizens are benefiting from our law enforcement partners and neighbors. So thank you so much for considering my nomination. I thank you to the committee. I am just so honored to be across the room from Tisha, who was also my classmate in law school. And it feels good to have this full circle moment. I'm so proud of my youngest daughter, who's a freshman at Baltimore School for the Arts, Kendall Harris. And also my other two daughters. I have a freshman at Howard University and a junior at University of Pennsylvania. Who's a consummate nerd. She is a biomedical engineering major, and a lot smarter than me. So thank you again, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions for Dr. Harris? Senator McCray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Senator Washington, I tried to do them both at the same time this time. So just wanted to say, Dr. Harris, I will always put respect on your name. So just thank you for who you are for our young scholars in the city of Baltimore. Great to meet Kendall and a wonderful example for all of our young scholars from that standpoint. I also wanted to lift up Ms. Emerson, just the work that she's doing. So thank you, Senator Washington.
What's that? Senator Carozza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Dr. Harris, and thank you for sharing your experience. You caught my attention when you said the three stools: elected officials, schools, and law enforcement. Do you have any, just succinctly, a couple ideas on how to strengthen, especially, I think, the communications with the schools and law enforcement, so there's less tension and more, more collaboration?
Sure. Well, let me say that I think it's important for young people to be actively involved in school boards and to serve as full voting members of their school boards so that they can be actively engaged at the most senior levels with any law enforcement that may be in their schools. But like with any community member, law enforcement are our neighbors. They come to the job with sincere hearts. And I think oftentimes the political voice around what they do is much louder than what actually young people and their families experience in schools. And so there's a lot that can be done. Of course, people say things like, oh, they can play basketball games together. They can do those kinds of things. But I think our young people are capable of talking policy and talking about the ways they can make sure that their school environment is a safe one in partnership with law enforcement. But the best way to do that is to make sure communities around schools are ecosystems that can thrive with great jobs, quality, affordable housing, and family sustaining jobs. So that'd be my brief response.
Thank you.
Are there any additional questions for Dr. Harris? Seeing none, thank you so very much. And lastly, Senator Washington.
Last but not least, and again, I smile because I know you all have wonderful districts and constituents, but I continue to be honored and amazed by the people that live in our part of the world, and it continues to inspire me to do this work. Colleagues, I present to you Ms. Carla Lynn Paisley to serve on the State Board of Social Work Examiners. Oh, there we go. Good to see you. Ms. Paisley is a bilingual licensed social worker and a clinical therapist. She specializes in serving refugees, immigrants, asylees, unaccompanied minors. All that I've done a lot of work in that space together. She's a marathon runner and a proud mother of 5 children. Yes. Yeah. The eldest, right. The eldest is completing her doctorate at the Baltimore School for the Arts. Sorry. No, sorry. She's completing her. I am completing. Yes. Ms. Paisley is completing her graduate degree at the Baltimore School for the Arts. She is a senior advisor. She's just done tremendous amount of work. And you also know how important our boards of social work are as a practice and a profession. And so I'd like to present to you Ms. Paisley. Thank you. Sorry about that.
It's quite all right. Thank you. Thank you so much for that introduction. I appreciate it. And I'd like to acknowledge Chair Hayes, Vice Chair Lamb, Senate President Ferguson, and our governor. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to serve in this capacity. Social work is so vital to the successful functioning of a community, the successful functioning of this nation. It's something that is very important to me because we are all one decision away from either needing social work assistance or calling on social workers to help those that we love and care about. I'm clinically trained, I am crisis trained, I am trauma informed, and I'm trained to provide services in multiple languages. that work requires a great deal of humility. It requires a great deal of patience. It requires a great deal of kindness, and it requires energy. I'm very pleased that those qualities are ones that I learned from one of the people who is here supporting me today, and that's my dad. I'm also pleased that kindness came from my stepmother, who's also here supporting me. And the value of humility and patience is something that I learned from all 5 of my children, the youngest of whom is sitting in the back room trying very hard to shrink into her seat, but she is a sophomore at the Baltimore School for the Arts, and I'm tremendously proud of all of the things that I get to do professionally, but I'm most proud that I get to be her mom. So thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you so very much. Next, we will hear from Senator Hedelman, who will introduce to us Erica Covington.
Thank you very much, Chair Hayes, Vice Chair Lamb, Senate President Ferguson, and members of the committee. I'm Shelley Hedelman from District 11 in Baltimore County, and I'm very pleased today to present to you Dr. Erica Covington. Dr. Covington is being considered for the Maryland Public-Private Partnership Marketing Corporation, and she is eminently qualified. Her resume says she was the interim dean of the School of Graduate Studies at Coppin State University, an institution I know very important to the chair, but she is now dean of the graduate school, of the School of Graduate Studies. She has gone to many educational institutions in the state. She has quite a lot of experience in marketing, quite a lot of experience in leadership, both academically and practically. And I present to you Dr. Erica Covington. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hedelman. It's my pleasure to be here this evening. Greetings, Senator Hayes, Senator Lamb, and President Ferguson. It's an honor to be nominated here today. Senator Hedelman explained my resume. I have a pretty long background in marketing and management. I've worked for several Fortune 500 companies. As of recently, my experience is in higher education, so I've had the opportunity to work in leadership as well as in business and management. I'm very excited to be here, and I thank you for the nomination, and I will entertain any questions.
Thank you so very much. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we will hear from Senator Jackson, who will be introducing to us Nona K. Minifield Cheeks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Senate President Ferguson. It's my pleasure to introduce to you all someone who's been my neighbor for over 20 years. I've also, my relationship with her and her family stems from the relationship I've had in public safety with her husband for well over 20 years, almost 30 years now. But Miss Nona Cheeks, Nona Minifield Cheeks, born and raised in Prince George's County. She stems from Prince George's County public school education. Senator Benson would be happy to know she attended, Glen Arden Woods Elementary, Martin Luther King Junior High, and then over to Bowie High School. And later, College of University of Maryland College Park, and got her MBA from Loyola University. So she's all Maryland. And mostly Prince George's, by the way. Ms. Cheeks has over 30 years of leadership experience in science and technology industry, where she honed those skills at NASA, Goddard Space Flight Center. There, she served as an outreach marketing manager, a commercialization manager, and as chief of the Strategic Partnership Office over the years, where she led aerospace engineers, scientists, business staff to establish a wide range of innovative partnerships and created STEM entrepreneurship programs. Upon her retirement, she became the founder and CEO of Innovator with YR LLC, a consulting and business strategy firm that provides strategic business practices and helps to cultivate innovation and explore entrepreneurship and while empowering students. Ms. Cheeks is a innovative and skilled leader with decades of valuable experience under her belt. And it's my pleasure to introduce her to this body, and I'd ask for a favorable report. Thank you.
Good evening, and I want to thank my senator and my neighbor, Jackson, for the introduction. I want to say good evening again and thank the governor for this nomination. I want to thank the Senate committee for having me here today, inviting me here today. And I want to just begin by just saying I had the privilege to work for NASA. I didn't take it lightly. And I had that privilege, and wait for it, I worked with rocket scientists to take their science and technology discoveries and find applications to improve the quality of life. So a lot of products that you are benefiting from today, everybody has a cell phone, thank NASA. The detectors in NASA, the detectors, excuse me, in cell phones is based on NASA technology. So I had the privilege of doing a lot of that work over the many years. And after retiring in 2019, I did find time to go off and set up a company, which is Innovator, as Senator Jackson said. And I continue to work with HBCUs. I'm continuing to work with young people, the pipeline. I believe in the pipeline of working with young innovators from 14 up, getting them involved in technology and getting them involved with understanding tech transfer, tech commercialization, and entrepreneurship. So I want to say thank you for listening and hearing me out. I want to introduce my husband, who's over there proudly taking pictures. And I also want to take this second just to say my character and my being here is from my mom, who got her wings in October. And I know if she was here, she would be here proud, beaming. So at this point, I want to say thank you again. And if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I also want to, I would be remiss not to acknowledge the presence of the president and CEO of TEDCO, who's here in the audience, Mr. Troy Stovall, who's back there in the audience. Thank you so very much for being here, sir. Thank you for your presentation.
I didn't see Troy, but I want to say, Troy, thank you.
Indeed. Next, we will hear from another member of the appointment to the TEDCO board, from Senator Benson. Will introduce Dr. Linda Curitan.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Chairman Hayes, Vice Chairman Lamb, President Ferguson, and members of this wonderful committee. I'm very happy to present the name of Dr. Linda Curitan to serve on the Technology Development Corporation Board of Directors. Let me begin by telling you that she received her BS degree from Howard University, a master's degree from Johns Hopkins University, and then went on to the University of Maryland Eastern Shore to receive her Doctor of Philosophy. There are words that really describe this wonderful, wonderful woman. And they're such words as well known as a strategic innovator, a thoughtful leader, results-oriented, creative, resourceful. I love those words because it's so important for a position such as this. She is well suited for this position. She comes to us with 34 years of extensive experience with a strong background in information technology management, to include experience as a CIO at the federal cabinet level. She currently serves for the Muse Technologies Incorporated. She's a senior executive leader, but she also has been an adjunct professor at the University Eastern Shore, University of Maryland Eastern Shore. I can tell you all without fail that she comes to us with all of the qualifications that are so necessary for us to give her a thunderous applause and also to recommend her for this prestigious and wonderful position. Thank you so much.
Senator Benson, did you want to acknowledge Dr. Carrington's special day today? her born day today.
Today is your birthday. How wonderful. Happy birthday. And may you live to see many, many more. And with the kind of work that you are doing for people, for children, reaching down, lifting up, God is going to smile on you until you're 105 years old.
Thank you, Senator. 105 is pretty good. I live, my 101-year-old grandfather lives with me. And I acknowledge that my sister probably has this streaming from the dining room table and he's watching. So I really appreciate that. Again, thank you to Chairman Hayes, Vice Chairman Lamb, President Ferguson. I also appreciate the nomination for Governor Moore. I look forward to serving the state of Maryland, the great state of Maryland. I bring knowledge and I think it's the right time, the challenges we face in cybersecurity and the unknowns with artificial intelligence. I am happy to answer any questions that you have tonight.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Carrington, and happy birthday
Thank
on
you.
behalf of all of us here. Are there any additional questions? Seeing none, thank you so very much. Have a good evening. Senator West, would you like to introduce to us Carol Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd be pleased to. Carol Johnson hails from the Carroll County part of my district. She is nominated for a seat on the governor's School Safety Subcabinet Advisory Board. It's hard to imagine anybody being more qualified for this because she's been involved in school buses for 41 years. First as a driver and for the last 36 years as the owner of the Johnson Bus Service, which operates a fleet of 37 school buses safely transporting students in Carroll and Frederick counties to their schools. Based on her long experience, I urge the committee to give Ms. Johnson a favorable report, and here she is.
Chairman Hayes, Vice Chairman Lamb, and thank you, Governor Moore and President Ferguson. I'd like to thank you for having me here today, and I'd like to thank you for accepting me for this position, and I'm supposed to be quiet.
Excellent. Thank you so very much for your presentation. Are there any questions? Senator Reedy.
Just to second the nomination, Mr. Chairman, Carol was a constituent of mine for a long time and was certainly an important member of our Carroll County community and helping us with, it's a great fit for this board, working on safety and making sure we're taking care of our kids as they go to school. So I second the nomination.
Are there any additional questions? Seeing none, thank you so very much. Senator Carozza, would you like to introduce us on behalf of Senator Mouse Abhiram? Got him. Got that.
Good evening, colleagues and friends, and happy Maryland Day. For the record, Senator Mary Beth Carozza, representing Wycomico, Worcester, and Somerset counties. And I'm pleased tonight to introduce to you Abhir Gadam, who has been nominated as a student member of the State Board of Education. He is Senator Moutz's constituent, but I like to think we share him because he goes to Parkside High School, and we share that high school. And I'd like to share a few highlights of his qualifications to serve on this board. He has over 200 hours of service, community service hours, at the same time holding a 4.0 GPA. At the same time, he has taken time to have experiences at different major employers on the Lower Shore, ranging from MaTech Solutions doing assembly, machinery work, and also has volunteered at Tidal Health Hospital. At the same time, giving his time to Halo, serving our homeless and those in need. And with these qualifications, we're looking forward to Abraham to join us, to join the members of the State Board of Education. And on a personal note, not only locally, but also serving on the Senate Education Committee. And we have our chair here too. We're excited about introducing you and supporting your nomination.
Thank you for the warm introduction, Senator Carrozza. Good evening today to Executive Chairman Hayes, Vice Chairman Lamb, and President Ferguson. I'd just like to express today how truly grateful and honored I am to be here, standing here today. It's been nothing short of a remarkable journey so far for me to get to this point. And I'd especially like to thank Governor Wes Moore for giving me the opportunity to be in this position and for placing his full faith and trust in me to fulfill this role. It's not often that someone from Wycomico County or even in the Eastern Shore area gets to see this kind of role or opportunity to be here. And I'm very grateful that I've come up to this point after everything. So thank you all, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have for me.
Excellent. Thank you for your presentation. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you so very much. Next, we will hear from Senator Smith, who will introduce us to praise.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chair, Mr. President, members of the Distinguished Executive Nominations Committee. Senator Smith from District 20 here to introduce into the record and to recommend Praise Lohade. It's not every day where you get a chance to come into the midst of someone truly remarkable and special. Praise is one of those young women, hyper talented, and just a magical person. She's up here for the Maryland Higher Education Commission. She attends Coppin State University and is pursuing a double major in computer science and mathematics. She's excelled academically and professionally in computer science. She's in computer science and mathematics. She's worked for IBM, and then over the summer, she worked for NASA. She's also been recognized for her service and academic achievements, earning awards such as the Presidential and Leadership Excellence Award and scholarships like the India Continental Scholarship and the Thurgood Marshall Scholarship. Through her experiences working directly with members of the student body and advocating on behalf of her peers, she is uniquely positioned to represent the students' interest on the Maryland Higher Education Commission. And so, Mr. President, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, it's my honor to introduce Praise. Also, I will add one little parenthetical that we are on the heels of spring break. Most folks are getting back from a beach or something like that. Praise was down in Atlanta, Georgia at a conference, an engineering students conference for 5 days, studying and networking and learning how she can bring her talents back to Maryland to serve us here. So with that, I'll recommend Praise.
Good evening. My name is Praise Alaide, and I want to firstly thank the chair, Senator Hayes, and Vice Chair Lamb, and President Ferguson. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Governor. Oh, thank you for that wonderful introduction, Senator Smith. And I want to thank Governor Moore for this opportunity. Yes, my name is Praise Alaide. I am a double major in computer science and mathematics, a rising junior, and yes, I worked for those companies, but something I'm especially proud of is my community service. Currently, I endeavor to work with Matthew Henson Elementary School as a math tutor because that's what I love to do. I love math, so I want to bring it back to the community. And also, I want to thank my family, my dad, Miss Hall, Dr. Stewart, and Dr. Moore, who are here. And my mom, I know she'd be proud of me. She passed 2 years ago, but I'm grateful to be here. Thank you so much. And I hope for a favorable report. Thank you again.
Wonderful praise. Senator James.
It is so nice to see you, and you have such a lovely introduction. I love math and science. Even though I'm here, I think that's my first love. I'm just curious, you don't have to give a very long answer. What do you think you're going to do with that, all that love of math and that education?
For me, I endeavored to get my PhD.
Good.
Yes, and I want to give back to my community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any additional questions? I was trying to figure out for the life of me, why was the Vice President of Coppin State University here, as well as other faculty? As you know, I'm a huge supporter of Coppin State University, as I represent 50% of the HBCUs in Baltimore City. It's an extraordinary institution, and it seems like they have put forth a very qualified individual to serve in this capacity. So thank you so much for your service.
Thank you.
Indeed. Thank you so very much. Any additional questions? Seeing none. Next, we will hear from Senator Feldman, who will introduce to us Dr. Hahn.
Colleagues, I'm here presenting Dr. Michael Christopher Hahn, and I will say, just as at the outset, he's got a tremendous resume. I'll just highlight a few things. I'd also note that Senate District 15 is home to more doctors than any Senate district in the state of Maryland, and this is a position on the State Board of Physicians, so there is some nexus there. Let me just start. Since 2021, Dr. Hahn has served as the Chief Medical Officer at Brook Lane Health Services. That's Western Maryland's largest nonprofit mental health system. For 3 years, he served as the Director of Healthcare Business at the United States Naval Hospital in Yokosuka, Japan. He was awarded in 2003 Physician of the Year Award by the Daily Record. Education-wise, received his Doctor of Medicine and Master of Business Administration, both in healthcare management from Florida International University, making him the first MD MBA combined graduate in FIU's history. With that, colleagues, I present to you Dr. Michael Christopher Hahn for a spot on the State Board of Physicians. Doctor.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate the kind words and the warm welcome. I'd also like to thank and recognize President Ferguson, Chair Hayes, and Vice Chair Lamb. It's a sincere honor and privilege to be here. I've had the privilege of serving as a Chief Medical Officer at Brook Lane for the past 2.5 years, where I've been able to work with some of the most kind and compassionate professionals delivering behavioral health care to some of the most in need in Maryland. I hope to take that same commitment to serve on the Board of Physicians. And I'd like to conclude by thanking Governor Moore for this nomination and ask for your endorsement and positive endorsement. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you. So next, we will bring forward Mr. John Dorset Brewer. And while he approaches the podium, this is a constituent of Senator Kelly's, who unfortunately could not be here this evening. So I'm pleased to be able to introduce Mr. Brewer to the committee. And this is from communication that had been provided by Senator Kelly. Mr. Brewer has held key roles within the U.S. Senior Executive Service, driving key policy initiatives for U.S. territories, international trade, and executive branch goals. He has demonstrated strong capabilities in budget management and strategic planning as the Director of the Office of Insular Affairs at the U.S. Department of the Interior. And we are really pleased to be able to support his nomination to the Maryland Port Commission.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be before this committee. It's also a privilege to be nominated by Governor Moore for the position on the Port Commission. Let me start by thanking the District 16 delegation who unanimously supported my nomination. And I also want to thank my wife, who is joining me here, Catherine Martin, and came down from North Bethesda to support me. If confirmed, I look forward to using the experience I've gained from over 20 years in the federal government, as well as experience in the private sector, to collaborate with my fellow commissioners on the Port Commission to make sure that the Baltimore Port remains a very strong and innovative engine for growth here in Maryland. So with that, I am welcome to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Brewer. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you so very
Thank
much.
you.
Next, we're gonna go back to Senator Feldman and hear from Taurus Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm back up here presenting colleagues Taurus Richardson for a spot on the Board of Trustees for the State Retirement and Pension Systems. His qualifications are ideal. He has over 25 years of private equity experience. He was the founder and CEO of IMB Partners, a private equity firm focused on buying and building small minority and women-owned businesses, and one of the largest minority-owned businesses in Maryland with over 700 employees. Prior to that, he co-founded ICV Partners, a minority-owned private equity firm that was from 1998 to 2010. He attended Purdue University, where he got a BS in accounting, and finally he got an MBA from the Harvard Business School. So with that said, Mr. Chair, I'll present to you Taurus Richardson. Yeah.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Senator Feldman, for this introduction. Senator Committee Chair Hayes, Committee Vice Chair Lamb, Senate President Ferguson, thank you very much for your consideration of my nomination. It is an honor to be nominated by Governor Westmore and Secretary Edwards. I am here to answer any questions.
Are there any questions of Senator Richardson? President Pro Tem Augustine.
Thank you, Brother Hayes. Thank you, Brother Hayes. I just want to let you know that Taurus Richardson is a proud brother of Kappa Alpha Psi, who actually I've known for been a very long time, and I'm gonna leave that right there. But
Is that the good fraternity?
oh, it is,
Oh,
yeah.
oh.
But he is exceptionally qualified for this position. So happy to second the nomination.
Well said. Are there any other questions for this esteemed member of the greatest fraternity in the world, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity
Mr. Chair,
Incorporated?
I have to apologize. Had I known that, I would have led with that fact.
You got it. Thank you so very much, Brother Richardson. Next, we will hear from Senator Rosenpap, who will introduce Suresh.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you, sir. So this falls in the category we've just met today. But I've studied his resume, which is, as you can see, is impressive. He's being appointed to an important board, the Public Information Act Compliance Board. For some people, that sounds a little dry, but as we all know, it's an important part of transparency in government. Having people on that board who are smart, who are analytical, who have vision and values is very important. And as you can see from his resume, he's an experienced attorney, worked primarily in government procurement, which requires all those capabilities. And he has a good fortune to have decided to live in College Park. I heartily endorse his nomination, please.
Hello, good evening, Chair Hayes, Vice Chair Lamb, Chairman Ferguson, and all the other members of this distinguished committee. Thank you, Senator Rosenpap, for the introduction. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today on Maryland Day. Happy Maryland Day. I would like to thank Governor Moore for the appointment to the Public Information Act Compliance Board. I would also like to thank Ms. Thompson and the rest of the Executive Nominations Committee. As a public procurement attorney in private practice, I'm honored and humbled to be asked to serve on the Public Information Act Compliance Board. Public information is owned by the public, produced by taxpayer funds, and should be available as freely and equitable as practicable under the Public Information Act. I would like to thank my parents for their constant and unwavering support. I respectfully ask for a favorable recommendation from this committee, and I welcome any questions. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you so very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Next, Vice Chair Lamb will introduce on behalf of Senator Carter, David Shapiro.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Mr. Shapiro comes to the podium, a little bit of background for his appointment to the Criminal Injuries Compensation Board. Mr. Shapiro has extensive experience in the legal field. He currently serves as Assistant Attorney General in the Office of the Attorney General, assigned to the Maryland Energy Administration. Previously, he has 7 years of experience with the Maryland Office of the Public Defender as an Assistant Public Defender for juvenile defenders. And before that has had a lot of experience as well when it comes to juvenile justice reform. And so we're really pleased to be able to support Mr. Shapiro's nomination to the Criminal Injuries Compensation Board.
Thank you all, Chair Hayes, Vice Chair Lamb, President Ferguson, David Shapiro. I thank Governor Moore for nominating me, as well as my wife and infant son who had to step out. I'm going to have to teach my son with the numbers that 15 actually means like 40 or something like that. So that'll be tough for him. Thank you, and I'm open for questions.
Are there any additional questions? Seeing none, thank you so very much. All right, next we're going to hear from Aisha Kabir, who will be introduced to us by Vice Chair Lamb.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. We're pleased to be able to present Aisha Kabir on behalf of Senator Brooks, who could not be here this evening and sends his apologies, but he did send a note on behalf of his constituent for her nomination. He said that Aisha not only brings a wealth of knowledge in appraisal, principles, procedures, and ethics, but also extensive professional experience spanning over a decade at Access Appraisal Network in Baltimore. She has demonstrated a strong dedication to accuracy and integrity in the appraisal of residential properties and possesses a keen expertise in real estate valuation. Aisha is an ideal choice to be a member of the commission and will contribute to their goal of ensuring fair, efficient, and professional property appraisals across Maryland. Senator Brooks is really pleased to be able to support her nomination to the State Commission of Real Estate Appraisers and Appraisal Management Companies and Home Inspectors.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you, Senator Hayes, Chairman Lamb, and President Ferguson. And I would like to also thank Senator Keisha Edwards as well. Thanks for the nomination. I'm supported by my 2 daughters today. And I would like to, if confirmed, help with the disparities in minority communities in reference to property valuations. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions? Aisha, this is a board and commission that's very near and dear to me. I've been paying very close attention to this as we've done an extensive amount of work over the last couple of years as it relates to real estate appraisals, which rob thousands and thousands of Marylanders out of the most precious asset they have in their home. Over the last 5 years, the board has had, although we've seen very public announcements of racial bias as it relates to the appraisals, there's not been a single case that's been sustained by this board or commission. And so hopefully, and not many Marylanders know that they have the option to appeal to this commission if they have a grievance as it relates to their appraisal. Just this past weekend, we lost an individual who was a senior person at Hopkins who had a very public, objection to the appraisal that was on our family. So hopefully I appreciate your comments and hope that you take your responsibility in serving on this commission very, very seriously, as many Marylanders count on this commission to safeguard them from any biases that, the state of Maryland can bestow on their behalf.
I've been in this industry for 18 years and I've seen a lot. And a lot of people don't know that they can appeal their appraisals. First, prior to even coming to the commission, they can go directly to their lender and appeal at that level. prior to even hitting the state.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so
Yes.
very much.
Thank you.
Are there any additional questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Next, we will hear from Senator James, who will introduce Cambone Williams. And please correct me if I got it wrong. I apologize. And so, yes, so you can start with,
Opposite order of what I had, but that's fine.
and then you also have Shannon Webb.
And I also
Follow
have former delegate Bill Cox.
Oh, yes, you're on a roll.
Very
Thank you,
important
Senator
person
James.
and
Yeah.
very important position actually, but you want me to go in reverse order and I'm delighted. Good evening, everyone. For the record, Senator Mary Delaney James, Harford County. I just met Mr. Williams, but I feel like we're on a little bit of a similar journey because he started out at Venable, Baker and Howard. Now they call it LLP, but I'm old school. I knew all of them. No, just kidding. And then I became a partner there, and both of us longed to eventually get all that large law firm expertise and quality. It is amazing to work at a large law firm. You just learn so much, but it's a lot of travel. And so it's really great that he's now at Peasant and Katz, a firm I was with they're now opening a Bel Air office. But what I'm really impressed with is he has a wonderful legal career, 16 years. Actually, if you look at the first paragraph of his resume, I felt like I was reading about myself. I mean, we just have complex business litigation, insurance coverage, real estate litigation. And what I can tell you, because this is my life, is that this is the kind of mind you need, the skills you need to get on something as important. And he's being renominated as the Real Estate Commission. So he's so eminently qualified. I'm just delighted to get to know him tonight. And I'm going to step back because I hope you all give him a favorable report.
Good evening. Would like to thank Governor Moore's office for the nomination. Obviously, Senator James for her support, and I extend my greetings and excitement to Chair Hayes, Vice Chair Lamb, Senate President Ferguson, and the other esteemed members of the Executive Nominations Committee. I've had the pleasure of serving on the Maryland Real Estate Commission for these past few years. The last time I was here, I got given a pretty hard time by Senator McFadden, who is no longer in the room, but I think his spirit is still felt. I've had the opportunity to serve on a number of legislative committees while on the Real Estate Commission. Most recently chaired the wholesale commission, which is addressing the issue of whether or not wholesale activity should remain as an unregulated portion of the real estate activity in Maryland, or should now come under the Maryland Real Estate Commission's regulation. It's been a fun ride. I've had to remind them very often that I am an attorney, but I am not the commission's attorney. We are ably represented by the AG's office, but I'm happy to bring those skills to bear again for another appointment. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Are there any questions? Yes, Senator Carlson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for sharing that background and also the introduction, because I just pulled up your resume and what really stood out was write clear, concise, and technically accurate legal documents, which I think, given the role in the Real Estate Commission and that these are our constituents' most important, purchase and investments they're going to make in their lifetime. Do you see it as part of your role, not so much being the attorney, but to be able to translate that to the average person?
Yeah, I think I also serve on a number of the panels that hear complaints from consumers regarding their transactions with real estate licensees. And there sometimes is a great deal of confusion. And a lot of times there are many of these statutes that haven't really received judicial treatment. And these meetings get a lot more lively than you might expect regarding what those statutes happen to mean. And so my legal background does seem to assist in that way.
I think sometimes the constituents just don't understand. It's because of the technicality of the language. So thank you for that.
Yes. Any further questions?
Sarah McCray.
I just want to make sure to give him a hard time on behalf of Senator McFadden. And I'm gonna make sure I pass on the message to him. I'm gonna text him.
James.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, then.
District 45 continues the legacy. Are there any additional questions? Thank you so very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
Next, Senator James, you're going to introduce Shannon Webb.
Yes, I am. Oops. This is a woman after my own heart. And I'll tell you why in just, well, I'll tell you why. Because like me, she said that she fell in love with seniors when she was very young. And that love, and I just think that respecting and loving seniors when you're young is just a great sign that you're in your life's trajectory. And I did the same thing, and it really spurred her to do the work she does now. So we are obviously this will be her first opportunity to serve the state of Maryland on the State Board of Social Work Examiners. She's a UMBC graduate. She's also got a Master's of Science in Applied Gerontology from Towson, a licensed Bachelor of Social Work. And I was really pleased that she has 25 years of experience and she's working at Oakcrest, which as everyone knows, it's just got a huge population of 2,000. That's a big portfolio and a lot of love, both coming at you at the same time. I just wanted to I'm just going to read just a little bit. I asked her, what do you most want me to say tonight? And she said, I am so excited. The main highlight for me professionally is my dedication of work with older populations for 27 years. From the moment I completed my college internship in nursing, I fell in love with working with seniors. I became interested in social work in the 80s while she's in middle school. So she is where she needs to be, serving people ably and wonderfully. And I'm just delighted that she wants to now help us at the state level. So without further ado, I hope you'll give her a favorable committee report. And this is Ms. Shannon Webb.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you. I also want to thank my husband for hanging with me today all the way from Harford County to Annapolis, because I was a little nervous driving this far. So yes, I've been working at Oakcrest for the past 9 years. I've been in social work for 27 years working with seniors. And I recently found out I'm a senior, according to the AARP. So as we...
Yeah, they're trying to get members.
They are.
We're blowing that age.
So as we know, our baby boomer population is booming and aging, and that's really my top priority is to make sure we're meeting the needs of our baby boomers, because gosh, is it different than our seniors of 25 years ago. So I'm super excited for this opportunity, and I have been to board meetings already and met with a few of the members. They are the ones that asked me to look into being a board member. So I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Last but certainly not least, Senator James, you're going to introduce former Delegate William Cox.
Yes. This is kind of amazing for me because I know Bill first saw me when I was a little girl, probably running under my dad's Senate President desk, which I occasionally came down to. So I can't believe that we're in this position now, but that'll show you just how much of his life he has spent with the state of Maryland. If I could just start with one comment, because I think if Senator Mike Miller was here, this is what he would say. They were dear friends. I think Bill's an institutionalist in many ways. But what I mean by that is he loves this state. He loves serving this state. He loves serving down here. And he loves our history. But institutional also in the love that all that we have done well in the past. Bill wants us to keep going into the future, being modern, ahead of the curve. And he fell in love with transportation. If you look at his resume, thank God Bill only listed things. Mr. Cox listed things, because if he described any of them, it would have been a 20-page resume. So, because I know you're all very familiar with him, but you can see peppered throughout there that he keeps gravitating to transportation, and he's got a lot of deep and broad experience with that. So I don't think I have to say much more, except that it's just a deep honor for me to be able to ask for his renomination. And one last thing, you overlapped with my father as president of the Senate in his last term, and this was your first. but then you got to work together a little longer because when he went over to become state treasurer, you worked there. And I know Bill works collaborative with everyone. He gets along with everyone. And he certainly had to manage many, many personalities in the House as the majority leader. So I really hope you give him an amazingly favorable report to return to this position. Bill?
Thanks, Senator James. Obviously, Chairman Hayes, Vice Chairman Lamb, Mr. President, my former colleague on the Ways and Means Committee, Senator Rosepep. It's an honor to be here. It's been an honor to serve and an honor to really be renominated by Governor Moore. I got to know the governor a few years ago, and he's dedicated. He's dedicated for the state, and I can tell you that working with my friend John Von Paris on the Transportation Authority, we've seen a lot happen, but again, my honor to be here.
Thank you, sir. Senator Rosepep.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm flattered that you recognize our service together in the Ways and Means Committee, Bill. But I want to associate myself with what the senator said. The way she described you from her perspective, knowing you longer than I did, was I first got to know you when I first came to the House and I served on the Ways and Means Committee with you. And you were a little more conservative than I was, and I was a little more liberal than you were. And we became fast friends and allies. And after you left the House, after I left the House, we've kept in touch and remained great friends. The thing that impresses me the most is every time that Harford County has its night in Annapolis, I get a call from Bill Cox saying, "Get your butt over here." He really cares about his community. He reaches out to people, and I'm very enthusiastic that he's willing to serve. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim.
Senator Hershey.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Just if I could quickly second the nomination of former Delegate Cox. We had an opportunity to speak before session got started, and I do think it's essential that we keep this type of knowledge and expertise on the MDTA. I know we'll have a lot of issues coming up, but I appreciate what we've been able to talk about and look forward to continuing working with you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Are there any additional questions? Thank you so much,
Chairman. Thank you all.
Indeed. Next, Senator Lamb, Vice Chair Lamb.
Can I just?
Sure. Go right ahead.
We've been missed. For the last 50 plus years, I've been extremely helpful and honored and lovingly my wife Paige to be with me. Thank you.
We'll pause for that anytime. Well done, sir. Next, we will hear from Vice Chair Lamb, who will introduce William Roberts on behalf of Senator Gazone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and we will bring forward Mr. William Roberts, who is a constituent of Senator Gazzone's, who could not be here unfortunately this evening, but did send a nice letter on behalf of his constituent. It reads, "I am pleased to recommend William Roberts to serve on the Maryland Technology Development Corporation Board of Directors as Vice President of Strategic Growth for Significance Incorporated. This position has allowed him to identify, analyze, and anticipate marketplace trends and their implications for new developments. That, along with his budget and financial work with the U.S. Army and Marine Corps, will bring a unique perspective to the Board of Directors." And with that, happy to introduce Mr. William Roberts.
Okay, greetings, everyone. I would like to thank the committee for saving the best for last, I believe. Greetings, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, Mr. President, and the committee members. I'd like to thank the Executive Nomination Committee for considering my nomination by Governor Wes Moore, and would like to personally thank Governor Moore for the nomination. I look forward to contributing my time, my talents, and my perspective in every way possible in an effort to continue the great work and success of the Maryland Technology Development Corporation. And lastly, I would just like to say, as a young man growing up in East Baltimore, it's truly a pleasure to be standing in front of this committee. Any questions?
I just waited until you run your mouth. Senator McCray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just I think about Senator McFadden in that moment. And if he was here, I'm sure that he would say, the sun rises in the east. So
Thank you. Thank you.
Are there any additional questions for Mr. Roberts? Thank you so very much, sir.
Thank you.
Next, we will hear again from Vice Chair Lamb to introduce Philip Singerman, Dr. Singerman, on behalf of Senator Kelly.
Thank you, Chair Hayes. Next, we'll bring forward Dr. Philip Singerman, who is a constituent of Senator Kelly, who unfortunately could not be here this evening, but did send few words of support for his nomination. Dr. Singerman has served from 1999 through 2005 as the Chief Executive of the Maryland Technology Development Corporation, leading successful state-sponsored technology-led economic development partnerships. He has demonstrated public leadership skills as the U.S. Assistant Secretary of Commerce for Economic Development, directing the Economic Development Administration and overseeing a $400 million annual budget for economic revitalization activities. Senator Kelly is pleased to offer her full support for your nomination.
Thank you. Chair Hayes, Vice Chair Lamb, President Ferguson, members of the committee. Appreciate the governor's nomination of me to serve on the TEDCO Board of Directors. Thank you for considering the nomination. I was the first executive director of TEDCO. I served for 6.5 years. When I started 25 years ago, this body appointed the first board of directors. Bev Byron, a former member of Congress from Western Maryland, was the chair. Jean Deloach, Dean of Engineering from Oregon State, was on the board and continued to serve for almost the entire time. He's only recently retired. I started the program with a desk at DBED, the Department of Commerce, a shared secretary, and a $500,000 grant. 25 years later, under the remarkable leadership of Troy Stovall, the program has responsibilities for the management of over $200 million in assets. And TEDCO is nationally recognized as one of the premier state technology development corporations. Thank you very much. Please answer any questions. I know it's late.
Excellent. Thank you for your presentation. Are there any questions? Thank you so very much. Last but certainly not least, we will hear from Senator Hester. No, Senator Vice Chair Lamb again, who will introduce on behalf of Senator Hester, last name Marani.
Great, thank you. And as Mr. Marani comes to the podium, this is a letter from Senator Katie Fry Hester, who unfortunately could not be here this evening, but did provide a letter of support for his nomination. It reads, "Thank you very much for considering Druvak Marani's nomination as a student member of the University System Board of Regents. Mr. Marani, a District 9 resident and University of Maryland College Park student, has a diverse professional and student background that has prepared him to serve in this position. He has interned in Congress under Congressman Sean Patrick Maloney's office and worked at the Howard County Applied Research Laboratory for Intelligence and Security, and has held several positions at the University of Maryland College Park, where he's pursuing a bachelor's degree in government politics and computer science. He also serves as a student liaison for the College Park City Council. His extensive resume and dedication to public service make him a strong candidate for this position." And those are the words of Senator Hester. With that, let me turn over to Mr. Marani.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lamb, and good evening, Chair Hayes, President Ferguson, and members of the committee. As Vice Chair Lamb mentioned, I'm currently a sophomore at the University of Maryland College Park, pursuing dual degrees in computer science and government and politics with a concentration in international relations. I spent my first year at UMD as a columnist for the Diamondback, our student newspaper, writing about issues facing the student body, from financial aid barriers and campus policing to sexual violence on our college campus. In June 2023, I was appointed to a one-year term representing my peers as student liaison to the College Park City Council. In this capacity, I work closely with the mayor, our city council members, and our city staff to make sure that students are considered in every decision made in our local government. I've continued to write op-eds about issues in higher education policy, like legacy admissions and affirmative action, for publications like The Hill and the Baltimore Sun. I believe my experience working closely on these issues and representing my classmates over the past several years have prepared me well for this role. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Mr. Marani? Oh, Senator James.
I'm a UM grad. I read the Diamondback all the time. My son just finished up there, and one of the greatest things was to come back around and see the Diamondback is thriving with great journalists. You obviously contributed to that. So just from people that are beyond, have left a long time ago, we love the school and love what you're doing with that paper.
Thank you so much.
Very well said. Are there any additional questions? All right. Seeing none. For those of you in the audience, we're about to move into our voting session. You're welcome to stay, but you do not have to. Colleagues, I'm gonna ask for you to be patient with us and stay around. We're gonna first hear a motion from our Vice Chair, Senator Lamb, on tonight's agenda. And then we're gonna hear a motion from Senator Reedy as it relates to our March 11th agenda. So please bear with us. Senator Lamb.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move forward with the nominations of number 1 through 46 from this evening, with the exception of number 15 and also S 46, 47, 48. But but inclusive of all the other statewide and local nominees.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, so move forward with the nominations in today's packet. So 1 through 46, those who appeared before us. 45, 1 through. Oh. 1 through, yes, 1 through 46 from today, with the exception of number 15. And then all the statewide and local nominees, with the exception of S 46, 47, and 48.
46, 47. All right. Did you guys hear the motion? Vice Chair Lamb moved that we accept all of the nominees that appeared today, numbers 1 through 46, with the exceptions of number 15, and the statewide nominees S 46, S 47, and S 48. Is there a second? Seconded by Senator Hershey. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Senator Hershey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick explanation I appreciate of holding S 46, S 47, S 48. Those are all nominees to the University of Maryland Medical System Board of Directors. These individuals are all reappointments, so they have been performing an outstanding job over the last term. But as you know, University of Maryland Medical System through Shore Regional Health plays a very vital role to the delivery of healthcare services on the Eastern Shore. And while I didn't think it was necessary to bring those individuals in tonight, I do just want an opportunity to be able to speak to them over the next couple of days. And again, express the importance of rural healthcare. And I didn't want to do it with having to bring everybody, but I just thought it's very important that I'm able to make that connection. So I appreciate you're holding them, and I just wanted the body to know why.
And just for our colleagues, we will likely have a voting session Wednesday after session right off the floor to move these nominees forward once the senators had the opportunity to talk to them. All right. Are there any additional questions, concerns? Think we voted. There's no one abstaining. All right. Next, I will recognize Senator Reedy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move that we submit for vote nominee number 9 from the March 11th agenda, and I would move favorable on the nomination.
Senator Reedy has properly moved the nominee number 9 from the March 11th agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Senator McKay. All those in favor say aye. Oh. Senator McCray.
Who was number 9 from the March?
Diane, what's the last name? Diane Butler. It was a nominee to the State Board of Elections. What first?
We never voted. We never voted on that.
Oh, yeah, we said aye, no. I can do it again. I'll do it again. All right, so this is in reference to number 9 on the March 11th agenda, Senator Zucker.
Yeah, thank you. Just a quick comment. I mean, I think, I think for us in elected office, we often think about, how our behavior is going to affect other people. But I think it's incumbent upon all of us, whether we think we're going to run for office or not, to hold ourselves to a certain value when we're out there. And, if I know what this person may have said in the past around the mask mandate and reflecting on what's next, Nazi armbands. And I think, I don't know if that necessarily impacts this person's ability to serve on the Board of Elections. I would just say that I think it's important for us all and our constituents that when something out there happens, that we're just more sensitive. It's important to learn from our mistakes, but I think just everything that we're seeing in DC and the temperament out there, I think it's incumbent for us all to do better. So I just wanted to flag that because this is something that, I hope it doesn't reflect how this individual may or may not be on the Board of Elections, but I think our words matter. And especially, for us, we see that as in being leaders, but I just think we all need to do better.
Are there any additional comments? For this, I don't think there's going to be a unanimous vote, and so therefore, we're going to take a roll call. So please listen out for your name from Chair.
Ready? Vice Chair Lamb?
No.
Senator Augustine?
Oh,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
That's right.
I got it.
You ready now? Senator Carozza?
Yes.
Senator Feldman? President Ferguson?
Yes.
Senator Gazoni's absent. Senator Hershey?
Yes.
Senator James?
Yes.
Senator King?
Yes.
Senator McCray?
No.
Senator McKay?
Yes.
Senator Muse is absent. Senator Reedy?
Yes.
Senator Rosapep?
Yes.
Senator Smith?
No.
Senator Sidnor is absent, and Senator Zucker?
Yes.
Yes, and Chairman Hayes.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion carries. Just for the, I want to go back over the vote. I think staff may have missed the vote on the very first one, which I believe was unanimous, but we want to just make sure for the record that we actually voted on the first group. So Senator Lamb moved that we accept numbers 1 through 46 with the exceptions of number 15 and the statewide nominees S46, S47, and S48. Was there a second?
Also
And the
all
locals.
statewide and the locals.
And the locals.
Right, all the statewides and all the locals, with those exceptions. S46, S47, S48. Is there a second? Seconded by Senator President Ferguson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you all so very much.